it's 6 o'clock. We can call the meeting to order. And this meeting today is for the Community Development Block Grant Program. We had our first meeting back on September 9th and received comments and project requests. And now we have our second meeting to announce the projects the city intends on applying for. So the purpose today is to gather and kind of obtain citizens' comment of the proposed uses. The city will receive an entitlement allocation of $311,565, and of that funding, 18%, which is $56,081, would be used towards the salaries, administration costs, supplies, anything for the redevelopment authority to administer the grant on behalf of the city of Uniontown. There's two projects that are being proposed. Those two projects on the agenda that was available for you is the Calvary United Methodist Church recreation improvements on the corner of Clark Avenue and Collins Avenue playground with basketball courts. That right now is set up for $178,839. And the second project would be demolition and removal of blighted structures, and that would be throughout the entire city. And there's addresses that we propose to demolish. We still have environmental reviews to do and different things that we have to follow through to make sure whatever properties we demolish are not dislocating anyone or harming the environment in any way. And they usually don't. It usually helps the environment. Those structures that we're proposing to demolish are 80 Lemon, 82 Lemon, 84 Murray, 96 Murray, 39 Winona, 52 Lenox Rear, 39 Winona. So I said 39 Winona twice. We're just going to do it once. So those structures have either burnt or are completely code deficient and are in need of removal. That's the primary mission of the redevelopment authority, is to eliminate slum and blight. So we are going to do that with this year's application. We are only able to use 30% of the funds to do that. And now we'll talk about the 70% of the funding that will be used for the park. We will accept comments also for the entire program, so that's why I'm giving you these details of how the program works. So those 70% of funds can be used for a few different things. They can address housing rehabilitation, construction, rehab, community facilities, parks and recreation, and the 70% must benefit low to moderate income persons. And HUD considers low to moderate income persons under the 80% median area income. And that's can be provided to you. You can find that online to see what those income limits are. The removal of slum and blight is also a national objective that can be met, but has to meet that 30% only. So we'll use most of the money to address low to moderate income individuals. So that's just a little background on how we got where we are. We held our first hearing, accepted comments, and now we're here at the second hearing to announce the projects. Besides those details, the only other thing I think I should mention is the 3-year community development plan. We received a lot of great projects. We received around 7 projects, and just because those projects weren't selected this year doesn't mean that they're not good projects. We want to take a look and see how we can move forward in our 3-year plan to maybe apply for those in the future. So some of those projects that may be on our 3-year plan is State Theater rehabilitation, which is the outside, which would be considered slum and blight removal. East End Community Center is looking to do an expansion. So we'd like to make sure that their project is on our radar. They may move forward with that project, but there's other needs that we could address at East End Community Center. And then there was the demolition and other housing projects that was in the package. one other park request, Marshall Park renovations. Those projects all need a little bit more vetting. So there's scoring criteria that determines how we chose this project. And then we'll talk about the actual project. The projects must meet the low to moderate income, and they can score higher when there's beautiful packages like this that Macmillan Engineering has provided, this preliminary engineering for the project. It outlines the recreation that's available to East End, which is not really any. There are centers, East End does have property, but it's not a recreational park. And then they also identified a petition with over 40 maybe signatures of folks in the area that are in support of the park, along with at least 3 or 4 support letters from different churches and housing authority that's nearby that feels this park would be a good project. We were able to determine the cost of the project. There was estimates included. It was a full project proposal, and that there scores projects. When we know what the estimate is, we can tell you, we can identify the service area, and then it's a project that kind of rates high. So the actual project, that's the kind of the program, and the actual project we'll discuss today and answer any questions because Macmillan is here. And then we'll talk about the process, the next steps. So on these 2 maps up here, we have the mapped out recreation areas to show that need. And then to the right is a conceptual plan of what's proposed to be on site. This project will be phased, I believe 3 phases, and at this time would be only the park equipment and the basketball court. We will also use some funding that we have left over from an old year to make sure we have enough funding to get through phase 1. And that's pretty much the project in a nutshell. I would, if Tammy, if you have anything to add about the project, or if there's any specific questions about the project. Yes? Well, we'll hopefully, if the grant is awarded, we'll get the funding in springtime. So springtime in 2024, so after Christmas. And once we get that funding, then we bid the project out, and those are the next steps. We get a contractor to come in and give us an estimate on what he'll charge us to do the work, and then we get a notice to proceed out and they start the project. We could hope that this could be a spring, summer project of 2024, so next year. Before we do put it out to construction, we will also solicit engineering services to be sure that we can lock it in with the federal contract and fund the engineering cost too. So that means, that there would be no associated costs that would not be funded by the grant. So the grant will cover the entire project. That's all I have for you. Any questions about, any other questions about the project? Yes. We're going to try to build a park across the street. Hopefully after Christmas time. So when it gets warm again after the summer. Yeah, after school's out. And really, once the equipment is installed, even though there would be these second phases, the first phase is the courts and the equipment. Second phase is the bathrooms and the pavilion, and then there's a third. Okay, so it'll be split. So we'll continue assisting to try to find funding. Yes?
What's the park's name?
we're going to reach out to everyone that's involved and get ideas. Do you have an idea? What's your idea? We'll get pictures of what the equipment will look like soon, and so then we can see exactly what it looks like, because I think that, I don't know if you've estimated particular equipment, but we want to be sure that the age range kind of fits the area.
Correct. We estimated around putting in there for the age, but one of our next steps when the funding secure, meet with the children, show you the catalog, see what we need, and what we're taking there.
Okay. Yes? Were there swings in the proposal? So it's just outlined as equipment, but if swings is something that we should look at, we can look at that. Yes? What's the name? We'll continue to have conversations with others in the community. We'll have plenty of planning meetings and iron out some of these details. Our goal is to apply at the end of October and hear back in the spring that we got awarded. And in the meantime, I think I speak for the Redevelopment Authority Board and the city that we want to aggressively grant write for any other sources of funds to move these other phases together, especially if there's any remaining CDBG funds that can be used towards the project. This project is ready to go. There's a backing. It's needed in the community. It's a win-win. I'm going to take a look and see if there's any comments online. No comments online. Now we will accept, yes? What is it? Now we will accept, yes? A fence around the park. What is it? So there'll be a fence around the basketball court. One thing when you install parks, sometimes it's hard to secure the park, so we definitely will consider the best security for the park. When you install a park, there's other things to consider, like insurance, maintenance, who's going to take care of that park. So we hope that we can come together as a community and iron those details out. I do know the Redevelopment Authority is in support to work those details out and facilitate that with the group. Did you remember your name? No? So we're going to accept comments. The comment period closes in about 10 days. Did you remember? What is it? Park Corner. Park Connor. What is it? Is that your name? We'll put that on the list of potential names. Cameras? That's a good question. When we review what types of equipment, we'll review security as well. We want to make sure there's good lighting, and if it's affordable and manageable, sometimes there are cameras. I didn't hear. So the deadline for comments on your agenda, that's the wrong date. It's 10 days from today's date. and it'll be updated. You can make comment on Facebook, by mail, by visiting our website at uniontownredevelopment.com and entering information in the contact us section. You can call our offices, the number's on the agenda there at 724-438-7968, or email info@uniontownredevelopment.com. We'll take all of the comments, we'll put them all together into a package, and it'll be submitted with the application. Is there anyone here with the church that want to say a couple words? I just wanted to offer. Okay.
Everyone else is afraid to say anything, and I've been working on this project now for 5 or 6 years. We went through a period of nothing happening, and you kids who are here, are you listening? You kids, you've got to get your parents involved with coming out and talking about things that we want to do in the park for the kids. And the whole thing is for you kids. If you've got older brothers and sisters, depending how old they are, why, there's not going to be anything for them to ride, probably. And so we're trying to create a relationship between our church and the community so that we're all involved in good things for everybody. So you kids, be sure you should get your parents involved in coming to these meetings, because we need to talk to them and we want their input into what we're going to do here. So just remember that it's probably going to happen, and it will happen. It is never happening fast enough to suit everybody, but it's going to be a nice project, and it's going to benefit your kids and the people in the community. So make sure you get people coming to these meetings. Thank you.
I brought some business cards. If any of you would like to take one of my cards and give it to your parents, if they have questions after you go back home and tell them, yes? Hold. Fully Park? Poley. Holy. Oh, Holy Park. I was getting there. All right, we got a couple names. Connor Park, Holy Park. Yes? I can't hear. Well, you guys think up a bunch of names, and then I'll give you my card, and if you think of any good names, we'll get them on a list, and then there's going to be a group of people that votes on a name. Because we'll have a nice big project sign out there, and it'll list everybody that worked on the project, and it'll name the park, and it'll talk about the hours, when it's open, and who you can contact for issues at the park, and it'll be a nice project sign. Okay, if there's no other comments, then we can close out the meeting, and I appreciate everyone's attendance.